Hello everyone. In this lecture we will see what are the different ways of representing a discrete time signal. Basically this particular questions comes in semester examination either of 5 marks or 2 marks or 10 marks. So there are basically 4 ways of representing a discrete time signal. The first one is sequence representation, second one is functional representation, third one is graphical representation, fourth one is tabular representation. So these are the 4 types of representation for a discrete time signal. So if in a semester examination, if you find the complete explanation of this particular topic, then it is a 5 marks to 8 mark question. And if in examination you can see a question either to convert a sequence representation into functional representation, functional to graphical, or any form to any form, then that is a 2 mark question. So before starting this particular topic, let us first understand or let us first discuss few points about discrete time signal. So the first thing is, in the previous session we have seen how to convert a continuous time signal into discrete time signal. So basically a continuous time signal can be converted to a discrete time signal by the help of sampling. Okay. Now here we can see that one signal x of n in discrete domain is given as 1, 2, 5, 7, 0, 1. And you can see that one arrow mark is given under the sample 5. Okay, so basically this particular sequence is called your finite duration discrete time sequence. This is called finite duration just because we can count the number of samples. So basically we have 6 samples over here. Now, which particular sample is the sample at origin? That can be defined or that can be seen by the help of this arrow mark. So basically wherever the arrow mark is placed, that particular sample is the sample at origin. Now if this sample is the sample at origin, then the previous sample 2 is the sample at -1 and 1 is the sample at -2. In the same way, the sample 7 or the amplitude 7 is the sample at 1, the amplitude 0 is the sample at 2 and the amplitude 1 is the sample at 3. So basically this particular signal or this particular sequence has a range from -2 to 3. Now the graphical representation, as you can see here, this is my x-axis, which is my time axis, and this is my amplitude axis, x of n. Now you can see at 0 I have an amplitude of length 5, at -1 I have an amplitude of length 2, at -2 I have an amplitude of length 1. So the sample at -2 is called as x of -2. The sample at -1 is called as x of -1. The sample at 0 is called as x of 0. In the same way, the amplitude as 1 is 7, which is called as x of 1. The amplitude as 2 is 0, which is called x of 2. The amplitude at 3 is x of 3, which is 1. So in this way, the origin of a particular given signal can be determined. Let us take one more example. As you can see on the screen, x of n equal to 1, 2, 5, 7, 0, 1. The same set of samples are given here, which we discussed earlier, but this time the arrow mark is not placed anywhere on the signal. Okay, so for such cases we have to assume that, or we have to consider the first sample is the sample at origin, or you can say the extreme left sample is the sample at origin. So in few questions or in few books, you may find the arrow mark at the first position, you may not find the arrow mark at the first position. So if it is present, then it is okay, and if it is not present on the signal, then you can say that the first sample is the sample at origin, or you can say extreme left sample is the sample at origin. Now if this particular sample is at 0th position, 2 will be at first position, 5 will be at second position, 7 will be at third position, 0 will be at fourth position, and 1 will be at fifth position. Now we can represent this signal on the graph also. This is my x-axis, or you can say time axis, represented with n. This is amplitude axis, represented with x of n. As at 0 I have an amplitude of 1, I have an amplitude of length 1. At 1 I have an amplitude of length 2. At 2 the length is 5. At 3 the length is 7. At 4 no amplitude means 0. at 5 it is 1. So in this way we can locate the origin position of a given discrete time signal. Now coming to the topic, different ways of representing a discrete time signal. The first representation is sequence representation. So you can see this particular representation is called your sequence representation. X of n is equal to, under the curly bracket, 1, 2, 5, 7, 0, 1. So these are the samples. Okay, and depending on the arrow mark, we can locate the origin position. So this is my sequence representation. Second one is functional representation. As you can see here, I have a sample 5 at position 0. At -1 it is 2. At -2 it is 1. At 1 it is 7. At 2 it is 0. At 3 it is 1. This can be represented with the help of a function also. So as we can write here x of n is equal to 1 for n equal to -2 and 3. You can see at -2 and at third position the amplitude is 1. Amplitude is equal to 2 for n is equal to -1. So at -1 position the amplitude is 2. Amplitude is 5 for n is equal to 0. At 0 position the amplitude is 5. Amplitude is 7 for n is equal to 1. So at first position my amplitude is 1. And we can write amplitude is equal to 0 for all other value of time. Okay, so we can write here otherwise. So this is how we can show the functional representation of a given discrete time signal. So basically in examination, when it has been asked to you to convert a sequence representation into a functional representation, so this will be a question of 2 marks. Now the same set of samples can be represented graphically here. You can see we discussed already this particular graph. At 0 the amplitude is 5, at 1 the amplitude is 7, at 2 it is 0, at 3 it is 1, at -1 it is 2, at -2 it is 1. Next representation is tabular representation, which is perhaps the simplest representation of a discrete time signal. So what we have to do is that we have to draw a table having 2 rows and the columns depending on the number of time. So in the first row I'll arrange the time. So as this particular signal has a range from -2 to 3, I'll arrange here -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and I need to write in the second row the amplitude values. So x of n is equal to 1, 2, 5, 7, 0 and 1. So this is the tabular representation of the given discrete time signal. So these are the 4 types of representation of a given discrete time signal, and understanding of this representation is very important for the semester point of view as well as for the GATE examination point of view. So this is all about today's session. Thank you.